The Yeti Radio, powered by DavidLeeImaging.com. David Lee Imaging in the Titletown Music Archive and the Live 365 app. Welcome to the Backstage Lounge on the YetiRadio.com.
Don't fuck it up.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to YetiRadio.com. Tonight, in the Backstage Lounge, we have Weapon of Pride in for an interview, and a long time coming. It's long overdue. And glad to finally get these guys in here, and we're going to have a good time tonight. But we're going to start it off with one of their singles called Crusade, right here in the Backstage Lounge on the YetiRadio.com.
Violence has its place, take them now.
It's the YetiRadio.com in the Backstage Lounge with Weapon of Pride. Grab your mics, guys. There you go. Sorry, should have said that before. How you guys doing?
Good, we're good. Super appreciative, to be here, and happy Easter, happy Resurrection Day.
Absolutely. I wore my Easter colors for today. With all the running around today, it's been crazy. All right, Weapon of Pride. How'd you come up with the name?
So we were actually called something else. We were about to release music, and a band somewhere, I think in Missouri or something, releases music and we were called Subcontra. Then we're like, oh, well, we can't do that now. So we were struggling. We work with Michael Beck of Sound Vision. He was working on our music late one night, and his studio is in like a neighborhood in Mesa, and the neighborhood it got shut down by Mesa PD. I guess there was like a hostage situation next door. Mesa PD rushes in, they all get on their megaphones, and they're talking to this guy who I guess we find out is holding his girlfriend hostage. And Mesa PD is like, we know you're in there. We're going to send the dogs after you, if you don't drop your weapon of pride. And Michael actually got this all on tape. So
it went click.
Yep. So if you listen to our debut EP, Retribution, which came out, I think in 21 or 22.
Yeah, 21. Mm-hmm.
It starts with that clip, so you can hear Mesa PD, and then it says Weapon of Pride, and then we come in with our guitars.
Nice.
So, people ask me all the time what Weapon of Pride means, and, I'll be honest with you, I don't 100% know.
Probably whichever one you're most comfortable with.
Yeah.
Because that's the one you're going to hold, it's the one that's going to be in your hand all the time. So.
Yep. So, and that kind of just fell in our lap.
Guitars.
Yep.
Awesome. The best backstory yet. Okay? Congratulations. That's and I know you're brothers, and I had to ask just to make sure. And you got the same last name, but that doesn't mean anything.
We are brothers. Yes.
And you two are original?
Yeah. Well, yes and no. I would say we are. We pretty much are. Pretty much. I started playing in bands my senior year of high school, and we were a Black Sabbath cover band, and we went under the name Subcontra. And then, life got busy. All of my high school buddies, they went different directions. Some of them moved, or, life got in the way. And by the time we switched our name to Weapon of Pride and we were actually writing originals, Logan was already in the band.
Okay.
So, I mean,
that's
my
original.
musical journey, no. Weapon of Pride, I would say so.
Okay.
We're both originals.
Awesome. I know you've switched drummers at least a couple times because I knew the other one.
Mm-hmm. Jonathan, who's in Arsenic Kitchen.
Right. And so now you have Mr. Adam
Duplack. Adam Duplack, yes. So, I'm very busy. On the weekends, I used to work for a wine bar called Merkin, which is actually owned by the singer of Tool and A Perfect Circle.
Okay.
He had a wine tasting room in Scottsdale. I'd work there just on the weekends for some extra cash, and I met Adam there. He was a cook there. Lots of musically minded people that worked for that company because, it was owned by Maynard James Keenan.
Yes.
And, we hit it off. He had another band that didn't have a bass player, Postal Scam.
Okay.
Kind of garage rock-ish. And, we were, Jonathan was getting busy with Arsenic Kitchen, and I think he was more into the metalcore style than, what we were doing. So just different directions. So I kind of told Adam, I'll play bass with you guys if you will play drums with us. So we kind of had that mutual agreement. We were friends and just worked out.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So
super cool. How long has Adam been with the band?
He filled in on like just some small tours and stuff. I don't know, starting about 2 or 3 years ago.
say like 2 years.
But he's become a full-fledged member, and he's been with us, I don't know, for almost 2 years now.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we've been playing with him for 3, but he's been full-time, I think, 2.
Okay. Awesome. What got you started in music?
I was an athlete in high school, and I ended up dropping it just because I didn't like the crowd I was rolling with and needed a new hobby, a new pastime. And I would go to all these metal shows. I went to, I don't think it's around anymore, but Mayhem Fest came through Auction Pavilion, Talking Stick Pavilion now. And I saw Korn and Avenged Sevenfold, and the drummers were just kicking ass, and I was like, this is so cool. Like, I want to, and I don't play drums anymore, but I started on drums.
Okay.
I saw those guys drumming. I don't know, I was a junior in high school, and I'm like, I'm gonna pick it up. So I started playing drums. I joined Drumline. I actually switched schools to pursue Drumline and really learn my rudiments, learn my rhythms, all that stuff. But I was working with guys that had been in Drumline since they were 12. So I knew so many drummers that were just way better than me. But I still wanted to pursue the music thing. I ended up singing, and then it was a snowball effect. We couldn't find a bassist, so now I sing it and play bass.
Right.
But all of those foundations started with, drums and rudiments, rhythms. So.
Super
How'd you
cool.
start, Logan?
Yeah.
For
Logan?
me, I was about 11 or 12, and I just saw my brother playing drums, and I was the younger brother inspired by his older brother and wanted to play. And I think guitar kind of caught my eye just because, like, the bands that I was starting into, it was kind of two opposites. One, like, I really liked 3 Days Grace, Breaking Benjamin, Skillet, but then I also really, really liked Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Black Sabbath, Motorhead, and I just loved guitar, and that's what got me into it. I played trumpet in, like, middle school band and high school band, but it didn't really pique my interest as much as guitar did. And I've been playing since. I played in a place called the School of Rock. It's like the movie, kind of. But I played there for 2 to 3 years, got better, and I saw that my brother Ryan was playing in bands, the Black Sabbath cover band, and I was their number one fan. I wanted to join, so basically I created. I was writing music and pretty much got into the band.
So he would watch us play these shows, like they were mainly garage shows, at our dad's house or our friend's house or whatever.
Right.
And he wanted a piece of it, and he was, I don't know, 3'5" or whatever the hell he was. He was a tiny guy. And I was like, dude, you're not ready. And, we're going to go up on stage looking weird with this little guy, So I'm like, I'm going to give him, in my mind, a bunch of hard songs. And, like, if you can master these 3 songs, then you're ready and we'll take you. And I just gave him Randy Rhoads stuff. I was like, if you can nail these to a T, I can't remember exactly which ones. It was
Crazy Train, Mr. Crawley, and then Zakk Wylde, No More Tears.
To me, those were like, super hard, and, he wasn't going to get those for a long time, and he, like, kind of just locked himself in his bedroom for hours and learned them, and he shows up, maybe he's 4 foot at this point, and he's shredding them, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess you're with us.
Yeah, give your word.
Yeah. But I'm super happy that all of that happened, because, it's really something special to be able to do with my family, so.
Absolutely. That's super cool. Let's see. When you're writing your music, what's your philosophy for writing it?
So we're not a jammy band. We don't, get in the room and like, hey, let's just jam on, stuff until something happens. I'm very A-type, organized. I'll write like, I don't know, 100 riffs, and then I won't come to them until I have some sort of an idea of, or at least puzzle pieces. You know, we'll have the puzzle pieces out there already. I'll come to them, I'll show them, and then we'll figure out how to piece them together. It's never just noodling around, check this out, you know, like the Hollywood movies, you know, like, I mean, some people do it that way, but, you know, for me, it's just very methodic, you know, and I think he does it the same way.
Exactly the same.
We write 50-50, you know, some songs are more Ryan riff heavy, and some of them are more Logan riff heavy, and some of them, and honestly, I think our best songs are, like, collaborative. They were 50-50 Ryan Logan. Yeah. And you know, if you know our personal tastes in music, you can kind of start to tell who is more, you know, Ryan driven, Logan driven. We do all of the instruments first, and then we throw vocals on top of it. I mean, we'll alter it sometimes to fit. I have like a poetry book. I'll write lyrics, you know, lyrics on lyrics, and then I'll open like my book up, and I'll be like, oh, this poem or whatever I wrote kind of has the vibe of what we just wrote, you know, on our instruments. Couple them, see how we can retrofit it, you know.
Okay. That's cool. Who are some of your personal influences, like directly?
So when I first started, I liked a lot of radio rock. I was in high school. I listened to, you know, some of the stuff that he had mentioned, 3 Days Grace, stuff like that. As I started to hone in on playing bass, I really started to appreciate the riff. So I go back now, I like 70s hard rock, metal, you know, Motorhead, Judas Priest, stuff like that. I like, you know, some grunge. I like Alice in Chains and Stone Temple Pilots. But I listen to a lot of desert rock and stoner rock and thrash now. Some of my favorite bands are I love Down, which is Phil Anselmo Pantera's one of his projects. Corrosion of Conformity. I do like Mastodon. I like their kind of trippier time signatures and their prog stoner-esque stuff. I like thrash metal too. I like high energy. I think, you know, going out and seeing live music, there's nothing better than just seeing people high energy, tearing it up, soloing, you know. But I also like that fuzz. I like the fuzz that, you know, the stoner metal genre gets, you know. I always say that the stoner metal stuff is just 70s hard rock that's slowed down and you throw a little bit of fuzz on it. So I think that's pretty cool. Logan has very different influences for me, which I think is the beauty of what we do. That's why we sound so original. Adam has very different influences. So, I mean, what do you listen to?
Well, it's throughout the years, it's been very different, but I'd say, like, the main things that have always stuck with me throughout the years is that, like, I love, like, of course, like, again, when I said the Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, the 70s, 80s, but I also really like thrash. I like Suicidal Tendencies, Anthrax, Slayer, Megadeth, and I've recently, well, like the past couple years, I've really gotten into punk a lot, like Dead Kennedys, Misfits, Agent Orange, like bands like that, and just really heavy guitar bands, I guess, too, like I listen to some power metal, some speed metal, and even recently more death, like metal, like Death, the band, and like just examples like that. So pretty widespread, but mainly like faster, heavier songs.
Well, it's funny because like what you're into right now, the punk stuff, like I'm like into the opposite stuff. I'm getting into like sludge stuff, slow, heavy metal, you know, a lot of New Orleans-based bands. So it's just funny to see. And then Adam likes garage rock. He likes some punk. You know, we're all over the place.
Yeah. But
I think it makes a cool, unique sound when we come together and we write.
That it does, for damn sure. So far, what's been some of your biggest highlights on stage?
Biggest highlights. Okay, well, I think we all probably play and we do this for different reasons. I would be willing to bet, but, you know, I'll let Logan speak for himself. What I enjoy about music is, you know, being able to say, hey, like I have, a good catalog that I'm proud of, and it's like, I get to tell my coworkers and my friends, like, oh yeah, I'm in a band, and then they can go and they can backtrack and they can see we have 2 albums, we have an EP, we have a bunch of super professional music videos done by Soundphoria, by the way, and it's a real thing. It's very legitimate, and we've worked hard, and that's what I like. I also enjoy, it's a very sociable thing for me. We like to do these like little satellite tours, like next month we're going down to Tucson and Sierra Vista, and I'll take all of my friends, we'll get an Airbnb, we'll make it just a fun group traveling thing, and that's what I love about it, is it brings people together. I don't want to speak for Logan, but I think he does enjoy being on stage and going ham a little bit. I think that's might be, I'll let you speak for yourself, but
yeah, that's definitely a part of it, but the main thing I really like is seeing people like having a good time and enjoying our music. I don't know, my biggest thing is like I got into music because like I loved guitar shredding. Like again, like Randy Rhoads and Zakk Wylde, they're like probably for guitar, those 2 are like my biggest inspiration for guitar. And like I want to be like the same person, like showing other people, like pretty much like inspiring other people to play guitar. About a couple years ago, or 2 years ago, I think, when we went to LA, he was like a couple years younger than me, and I thought it was super cool that he was getting into guitar, and he was asking me for advice. I was like, I don't know, I just thought that was so cool, and of course I was like trying to help, and like a couple months later he was like, thank you, man, I really appreciate it, I feel like I've gotten better. I feel like that's the reason why I play and I enjoy music, is just to see other people like happy and enjoying the music.
So when we went on a little, and this was, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, we went on a little tour, Weapon of Pride and Arsenic Kitchen, and we went through Durango and New Mexico, and we played Durango to a bunch of kids at like a skate park. And like I said, this is like 4 years ago. And then I think 2 months ago, I got a DM on our page, and one of the kids that was at the Durango show years ago, like, made a quilt of all of his favorite bands and records, and he had our record, in the top corner of the quilt. And that's why we do it, is to connect with people. That same feeling I had at Mayhem Fest when, 2014 or whatever it was, more than 10 years ago, and I'm like, these drummers are badass, they're tearing it up, I want to do that. I would hope that our sets would connect with people like that, and they'd be like, oh, I really feel this, I want to get up there and play, we've done some other bigger things, like, we've been on 98 KUPD, we won their Pladio competition one year, we played a lot of high profile venues like the Marquee and 191 Tool down in Tucson and the Orpheum, and we've gotten a lot of cool opportunities, but I'd say just being, out there talking to people, connecting with people is why we do it.
Absolutely.
When you win Pladio, what does that entail?
It is interesting. We got on the radio for a year. We wrote their songs, so that was pretty cool.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Where do you draw your inspiration for your lyrics?
All over the place, and they're all pretty negative. So I love history. I love a lot of darker history. I love traveling, so I'll go and I'll travel, and I'll hear about crazy things. Like, we went to New Orleans. I love New Orleans. And there's a lot of dark history there. There's, famous...
Deep dark history.
Yes, there's famous killers and stuff like that. So, like, our song Axeman is about the axe killer of, I think it was 1918 or something. He used to go into homes in the middle of the night and kill people in their sleep with an axe. And, there's letters that he sent to the city, if I don't hear jazz music playing, on this night, whoever's house is quiet, I'll come in and I'll kill them or whatever. You can look all this stuff up. It's all out there. And I was just like, oh, this is super interesting. I'm going to write a song about that, you know? Like some of our older stuff. So I am Christian, and, you know, like our grandmother is, she was a Sunday school teacher. She talks a lot about the Bible, and the Bible's pretty metal. She would talk about Revelations a lot, and, you know, Revelations can be pretty doomy. So Under Wings, that's what that's about. You know, just all real stuff, you know. I mean, we're not the band that's like, you know, the whiskey, Hollywood, let's drink, you know, beers and get with women, which, you know, like, that's cool. Like, I like bands like that, but that's just not who we are.
Right.
That's not what I write about. So, all over the place.
Nice. Let's see. What's your favorite song to perform?
You want to answer that?
It's a little difficult, but I would say, I think it'd be a toss-up between Shredder and Taking Over.
Okay.
I think it'd be a toss-up between those two.
So for me, it's hard because and we've had a couple musicians step in and, you know, and like guest musicians play songs with us. We like to do that on stage. Like I said, bringing people together is why we do this. I think it was John of Secrets of Lost Empires told us one time. He was like, all of your guys' songs are like, I don't know, like 5 songs in one. You get jamming on one particular part, and then it's totally different. And that's why it's hard for me to pick, because there's particular parts of songs that I just love to play. Taking Over is a fun one. I would say, as far as energy level goes and you know, crowd reception, I'd say Crusade's a fun one to play because people get moving around, you know. When we have mosh pits, that's like usually one of the songs that people will be moving around to. Shredder's pretty fun too, especially the middle part. You know, we get real fast there, and it's real hectic, and it's just fun to deliver that energy on stage. And then some of the more time signature challenges, you know, and like, I don't know, Into the Storm, you know, there's some funky transitions, and I like to be mentally engaged when I play. You know, I don't like playing, you know, 3 or 4 chords or whatever. I like to really have my brain on and move, you know. So some of the more technical songs we do are fun for me.
Okay. Do you have a song that I always say don't like to play, but not in distaste, just maybe in level of difficulty? You have...
There are, so for me as a singer, I'll say there's some songs that are more vocally challenging for sure.
Okay.
I have to be mindful of where I place them in the lineup, in the order of things, because, you know, it's that balance of don't gas yourself out, and, you know, because I sing relatively higher, so sometimes, you know, the stuff that's even higher is you know, of our catalog, our higher songs are just sometimes challenging. I don't do them at the end of the set. I don't do them at the beginning of the set because, you know, I want to get warm, but also I don't want to be gassed out. So it's definitely got to strategize a little bit. And then there's some where like I said, the time signatures and the changes are weird. I'd say Pending Cure has always been, you know, one like...
That's up there, yeah.
Yeah, if we're tight and we've practiced it quite a bit, sure, we'll throw it in there. It's definitely a mentally stimulating one for us to play. You know, if we're, I don't want to say having a bad night or, I mean, anything like that, but, you know, if we're just, you got to be feeling it. We got to be feeling it. We got to be locked in to do that one, so.
Okay.
There are some songs, you know, that I'm not the biggest fan of that we have done, you know, but, you know, it's part of the journey. Yeah. You know, you live, you learn, you know, these are all lessons. You get better on the next record, and you just keep putting out new material.
You got anything, Logan?
I would say one of the hardest songs to play live for me is probably Wrath. And that is because in the middle, if you listen to the studio version, the studio version, Kelly from Mothership plays the solo and does backing vocals in the song, and he's an awesome guitar player, and doing his solos live are a little difficult, or doing something similar. It's a little difficult, but it's a fun song to play. But it's pretty hard to do it live sometimes.
Okay.
But
cool.
And Pending Cure for sure is just the time signatures, and like it's hard to play.
Real quick on the Kelly thing. On this last album, we really wanted to bring people together, and we were collaborative, you know. So there's, I think, 3 or 4 songs that we invited some people just to do little parts on some of our songs.
Okay.
So
cool.
Kelly Jewett of Mothership does the solo and some backup vocals on Wrath. Ryan, and she is previously of Iron Kill. They're not around anymore, but if, you know, you should look them up. They're really cool. She did some vocals on 2 songs. She has a really gnarly voice. She's on Shredder, actually.
Okay.
She does those real guttural parts that I just couldn't do. I heard it in the studio. I'm like, I can hear this song having this piece, but I'm not capable of it. Let me hit her up. Abby Walker, she does a little bit on one of the songs too. That's everybody, right?
Yep.
Okay, just wanted to make sure I put that out there.
Absolutely. Got to give credit where credit is due.
Absolutely.
Let's see. What's been your favorite performance so far?
You want to start?
Yeah. My favorite performance, I think, was probably playing at the Orpheum in Flagstaff.
Okay.
And the reason why is because, like, we didn't really know what to expect, but, like, going in there, like, it's a really cool venue, and there was probably, like, 150, 200 people there, like, all college students. They're all, like, jamming out and, like, loving the set, and, like, and exactly, like, that's just what, like, that's the reason why I love playing, is, like, seeing people enjoying, like, the music and really liking it. So it was just pretty awesome to see, and, like, and it was also just in general a very high energy show.
Awesome.
What about you?
I would agree with that. I would say, you know, like, playing at specific venues that, you know has a crowd of people that are there pursuing new music. What would you call them? Early adopters. You know that there's certain venues around town that have crowds like that versus, and there's nothing wrong with it, but, there are other times where you play shows and, people are there to drink and they're there to be at the bar and your background music. That's fine too, but, when you have people that are specifically there to absorb your music and to see what you're about, and then they give you that energy in return, I mean, you feed off of that, like we have better shows when people are moving around, when people are up in front of the stage. It's much more enjoyable because we feel like we're connecting, and that's why we're doing this. Flagstaff, the Orpheum, that was like a battle of the bands for their K-Jack radio, and there was a bunch of NAU kids, and they were all bouncing, jumping around, and that was super, super cool. We've had a couple other, many shows, but a couple others that come to mind. We played the Nile Underground with Valley of the Sun. We had mosh pits going that whole time. Just gets me worked up. I want to get in there with them. Can't do that with the bass on, but
Right.
191.
It gets a little dangerous at one point.
Yeah, 191 Tool. That was a cool one. Really cool. Tucson has a really cool scene.
Yes.
There's a lot of, early adopters and people that appreciate the local rock scene down there too. So.
Awesome. Well, we're gonna take a quick intermission break and let you listen to some more Weapon of Pride right here on the Yeti Radio in the Backstage Lounge. Here they are with Shredder.
the blood from the sea. Feed or deny, either which way is to die. Filling the lungs, sadly a tale unsung. Taken from me, start filling up from the sea while swallowing me. Blood is it starting to flee and waters will burn. Inside the lungs it will churn. He rips into flesh. Shredder cuts into the bed.
That's Weapon of Pride right here on the Yeti Radio, live in the Backstage Lounge. Oh, yes. Awesome tune. Got a very unique sound. And but I hear hints of your inspirations. So it's really good.
Thank you. Thank you.
What's the craziest thing that's ever happened on stage?
Craziest thing that's ever happened on stage. Well, when we were still a cover band, we were playing Copper Blues in downtown. There was this, like every Tuesday night, they had like a local showcase or something like that. So we would show up every Tuesday night, and I feel like that's where we got our like live legs, you know, just doing that week after week after week. But we liked the Misfits. We did a Misfits cover. It pissed somebody off, and they ended up throwing a water bottle. Yeah, it hit one of the. So I don't know if you're familiar with Copper Blues downtown, but they have all of those handles, the draft handles. It ended up hitting one of those, so it didn't get to us. But you know, I mean, if you're familiar with the Misfits, they do have some crazy lyrics. You know,
yeah,
they're not lyrics I wrote. I mean, you know, we did decide to do it, you know, but I love the Misfits, so, you know, but it pissed somebody off, so.
Wow.
That's, I think, the craziest thing I can think of.
I can't think of anything
I mean,
else.
Everybody's had technical difficulties, you know.
Well, yeah.
Chords go out or whatever, and, you know, you got to figure it out, but we've been lucky enough not to have anything too crazy happen to us during our sets, so.
Cool. We had a guy the other night, broke a guitar string like one or two songs before the end of the set. I was like, and no backup. I'm like, ooh.
You know, actually, that reminds me. So we go down, I like to go down to Bisbee about once a year because it's, you know, like one of my favorite little towns in this state. And, you know, sometimes we'll go down there for my birthday weekend and we'll play a show just because, you know, it's a working vacation. It's fun. I like playing music, bringing my friends down there. And one of the first times we played down there, and this was a learning lesson for us, we got halfway through our set and he broke a string. You're all the way in Bisbee. You know, we don't have a backup guitar and there's no music shops down there and you're just kind of SOL. Mm-hmm. So we were like, talking to the other bands, we were like, you know, is there any way we could like borrow a guitar for like just a couple songs? And you know, we play in a really low tuning C standard, and a lot of bands don't do that. So and of course these bands don't want us cranking on their guitars right before they go on, or you know,
right?
So they're like, well, if you can play an E or you can play an D, and we're like, we don't really want to change the key to our songs, so we just packed it up after halfway through. You know, we went, and it's a 4-hour drive, so that kind of sucked.
Yeah.
Now we bring backup guitars to everything. So.
Yeah.
Good.
Once or twice, like, since then, I've broken a string, like, playing, but it just takes me, like, 30 seconds to, like, get my other guitar out and be ready to play. So.
Yeah, with the variables of a guitar, you'd think you'd always have a... well, at least my militant mindset was always have a backup.
Yeah, well, we're young,
yeah.
you know, we're still learning.
Yeah, I'm sure I wouldn't have done it that way in the first place anyway. Again, a learning process.
Yeah.
For sure. Let's see. What's your favorite local place in the Valley to play?
Favorite place in the Valley to play? You know, we were talking about this the other day, that it's hard to say no to a show at Yucca on a Friday or a Saturday, just because they have that built-in crowd of people that want to absorb new music.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like playing the Nile, too. The Nile's pretty cool. We haven't made it out to the West Side in a long time. You know, maybe we'll change that, you know, soon. I know we're picking up a lot of shows this summer. I mean, not a lot, you know, where we're, you know... Or booking them back to back, and we can't properly promote. You know, like we want to make every show as big as possible. So we have a lot of shows coming up that aren't even in the Valley. You know, we have Phoenix. Like I said, we're going down to Tucson and Sierra Vista. And maybe we might go up north a little bit. We'll see. That's still developing. You know, Flagstaff, but I would say Yucca, the Nile. I really like 191 Tool down in Tucson. And as you had mentioned earlier, the Orpheum in Flagstaff was just such a cool experience for us.
Okay.
Pretty much all the same places. I guess to add a place, I really like Pub Rock. Like,
okay.
That's a place that I really like to play, even though, like, I'm under 21. So usually, like, a lot of the shows we play are over 21, so usually after we're done playing, they're like, all right, like
out the back door, don't come back in.
You need to get out now. So, but it's still a really cool venue to play, and like all of them are really cool.
So how much longer do you have to wait?
I am 19, so about a year and a half.
A year and a half? Okay.
Yeah, don't let that scare you away. He's very, very good, and he practices and he shreds. So we got energy too. Mm-hmm. We're high energy live. We try to put on a good show.
Absolutely, and not trying to take anything away from that. Just for your sake, when you get to hang out after the show and get the feel from everybody out in the crowd afterwards. That's
you know, I'm forced to drink all of his beers for him, and that I do. So.
Well, you're a really good big brother then. What's the age difference?
7 years.
7 years? Okay.
Yep, I'm 26.
Okay. Somebody walks up and says, okay, we're going on tour. Where do you want to go?
I love the South. I love New Orleans, Missouri, you know, the Ozarks. I like Florida. You know, in the States, that's where I'd go. We've been blessed. We've been able to travel a lot of cool places. Our record label is actually out of Italy, so that's pretty cool. But
next you'll be touring over in Europe.
That would be cool. I mean, that sounds expensive, so we'll see. Maybe someday. But I like the South, and Texas, Austin is a really cool place for the type of music we do. I think that we haven't played Austin. The furthest east we've gotten is San Antonio, which I love San Antonio too. I love Texas.
Not much further east is Austin, so you're getting there.
We were close. So maybe this next go around, but just getting all of our schedules to line up that we could actually take a week or whatever to do that. It'll line up again. I think we might have something going on this summer, so that'll be cool.
Yeah, especially if you're hanging out with Michael Beck. That can definitely turn into something interesting.
Oh yes, absolutely. I definitely.
So what big place? Maybe even overseas. Something some fucking far-fetched dream place to play.
Germany.
Yeah.
Germany's cool. We went to Germany last year. So when I was in college, I studied a little bit of German, and I was supposed to go over there for a not exchange, a study abroad. I was supposed to live in Regensburg, which is just a little southeast, I believe, of Munich.
Okay.
And that got shut down because it was 2020.
Right.
So you know what happened there. Finally made it out there, and it's just super cool. I love it. Food's awesome. People are really nice. It's beautiful. There's lots of history. I mean, castles everywhere.
Right.
And there's a cool rock scene over in Western Europe. A lot of the bands I listen to come from Sweden. Nowadays they're really into that desert rock and that stoner rock stuff. They all love Caius. So somewhere over there. What about you, Logan?
Definitely Germany's up there. That's probably number one. But I also really want to play. I feel like Japan would be really cool. And when we went to Japan, I didn't realize Japan has pretty much almost every shop we went to, it was a bunch of rock and metal stuff. So it was really cool to see that, and to see that they have a pretty big or decently big rock and metal scene. So I feel like it'd be cool to play in Germany or Japan.
Our record label too has a presence out in Japan as well, and they put our CDs in their stores there. They take pictures, super cool. You can see all the Japanese marketing on the shrink wrap and stuff. So just to see it, to process that there are people over there that are buying our CDs and listening to it,
Japan's always been a fan of American rock and metal, and it's always impressive. Yeah, all you have to do is be in a rock band from the States and go to Japan, and you're a rock star.
Yep. Cool stuff. Maybe someday.
Yeah.
It's a bucket list for sure.
Absolutely. So, if you could collaborate with anybody, who would that be?
I gotta say, my musical man crush, and I just think it's super cool everything he does, is Zakk Wylde.
Yep.
He's in Pantera, he's in Black Label, he's in Ozzy. He's touched literally everything that has inspired me to pick up an axe and start writing riffs. So I think that would be super cool. We've met him too. We met him at he has his own line of guitars, Wild Audio, and he was doing a Guitar Center tour or whatever, showing off his guitars. And super nice guy.
Awesome.
And he likes all the stuff I like. He has a Black Sabbath cover band himself called what is that? Zakk Sabbath.
Zakk Sabbath, yeah.
Okay, that works.
Another one of those guys that seems to be involved in everything I like is Pepper Keenan of Corrosion of Conformity and Down. And he would be pretty cool too.
Okay.
Zakk Wylde. Pretty much.
Done deal. Okay, into that question. Oh, let's see. What's the best thing about being a musician?
Connecting with people. I think connecting with people and being able to. I mean, there's a long waiting game when it comes to music because you write songs, you piece them together, you really internalize them, And then you get into the studio, and you hash it out in the studio, and then you get callbacks, and you get it mastered, and then you pitch it to people. You pitch it to record labels, hoping somebody's gonna pick it up, and then they give you a timeline. So like the songs that we do don't see the light of day for like a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
So it's very, so that's another thing too, just rewarding seeing all of that come together, and people get to see it. I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because it's like, oh, we've waited so long for this to come out. I'm a totally different musician by the time it comes out, and I'm like, oh, well, I'm getting critical, and I could have done this better, or this, or I've got better songs in my head now. But it's still cool to just go through that process and finally see it come out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, pretty much.
Awesome. So what today would you consider a successful music career?
I think that's different for everybody, and I can say that just because, like I said, everybody in my band, has a different reason for doing it. I think it depends on, you and what you want to get out of it, whether it's connecting with people. If you have people come up to you after your set and tell you, like, this really connected with me, I enjoyed this, like, this got me excited, or whatever, they were dancing up at the front, whatever, you have experiences like that, that might fulfill your need to play music. Having an awesome catalog, maybe that's your goal as a musician. I feel like we are successful just because I do get to be in the trenches and connect with people. Mm-hmm. We played at Yucca on Friday night, and we had a lot of awesome conversations after, with people that had never heard us before, or people that had started, like, oh, I've come to your last Yucca show, when are you coming back? We're starting to build those connections, and that's how I feel fulfilled as a musician.
Yeah, pretty much. Just like, I don't know, I feel like to be successful is like having like, I don't know, just having like, not even like a big dedicated like fan base, but even just having like a small group of people who are like, oh my gosh, like, when is the next Weapon of Pride show? Like, I don't know, like, I feel like, and to his point again, just like making good music and like having like, just like fans and like having good shows, touring around, like, I feel like that's what makes it. Like, you don't need to like play like, oh, I need to play like the State Farm Stadium and then I'll be happy. Like, it's, I don't know. Like,
everybody's got their milestones, I guess. I have a bucket list of things I want to do with my musical career, but at its foundations, I feel like I'm doing what I love, and I'm doing it for people that appreciate what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. We're kind of niche. We're a little different. We're a little out there, and it's not for everybody. Would it be cool if we had, millions of people listening to us and we had this huge platform? Yeah, but also, the people that I do talk to appreciate what we're doing, and they have a good time, and that's enough for me.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. What's the differences in technology from before you guys were in music and the way things are today? Is there anything you would change in the industry?
I think that streaming, just in general, like Spotify and stuff like that, is an interesting beast. I know in the music community, there's a lot of people that really do not like, how they pay pennies on the dollar for, I think it's like something crazy, like you get a tenth of a penny for each play of a song that you make. So, I mean, you're not making money when you put out songs. And I mean, if you do a song right and you go in the studio, you hire a professional to work on your music, I mean, it's not a cheap thing. So a lot of people are not going to see their money back when they put it out there for consumers. I like to say it's really good for the consumer, maybe not so much for the producer. But, that's just how it is. It's harder to, iTunes, I think it was $1.29 a song or whatever, that's I mean, I'm younger, so like I was familiar with that, you know, and then obviously CDs before that, you know, cassettes, vinyls, you know, different ways for consumers to get a hold of music. But what I will say is that, and this could be a good thing or a bad thing too, but anybody can release music now. There's no gatekeepers. You don't have to have a record label put out your music. You know, I mean, you can fart in a microphone and you can put it on Spotify. You know, so that's the downside of it.
Thank you for that analogy.
that's the downside of it. You know, sometimes you might have a little bit more mud to get through to find something that you like, but I mean, a lot of bands that are awesome that wouldn't have had the chance otherwise now have that as a resource. So it's good and bad. It's different.
It's definitely different, for sure. There's rumor and people talking, you know, I wish there was a kind of a revolution where everybody would just pull back off of digital and go back to being analog.
The problem for me is, and you know, my friends, we're in our 20s. You know, I can tell you that, like, my coworkers, even some of my friends, they would not go out and pursue us and listen to us if it was not easily accessible on Spotify. So I think it really depends on what type of band you are and who your demographic is. Okay. You know, I feel like if we weren't on Spotify, I mean, unfortunately, we'd be shooting ourselves in the foot. You know, all of the people my age demographic would not. I mean, they might find us on Spotify, decide they love us, and then go back and buy a CD or a vinyl because they've decided they like us. But, you know, actually getting them to put in the effort to pursue it and figure out if they like us before dropping the money, well, that's just how the industry is. I mean, I wish that, you know, we could just sell CDs and vinyls and we would make much more money of it, you know? But I think the way I see it is your music nowadays is your business card to get people to come to shows, to get people to buy T-shirts, vinyl, CDs. You got to give them something free for them to decide, oh, this is worth investing in. Now I'll put some money into it. Whereas before you had to buy it to see if it was even good. You know, you'd get a CD and you'd listen to the whole thing just for one song. You know?
Right.
So.
And then iTunes came along and then you could just buy the one song.
You know, I think that's probably the good compromise, you know, because you're still getting paid for the good quality stuff you're putting out there. It's good for consumer and producer, in my opinion. And that's the good compromise. I mean, and maybe I'm a little biased because that's what I was familiar with growing up was the, you know, $1.29 you could buy a single on iTunes, and, you know, I filled my library with, you know, the singles that I paid, you know, the musicians for $1.29. So, just not like that anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, well, now that I'm older and, you know, I'm working and stuff, I mean, a lot of my money goes to vinyl nowadays.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's a whole lot more expensive than it was back in the day.
Yes, it is. I picked up a couple cool vinyl over the weekend. I got Deliverance by Corrosion of Conformity.
Nice.
I was gifted an Acid Bath vinyl and Danzig Misfits. I got a couple cool ones this weekend.
Nice.
So I'm building my collection. It's not quite as big as yours.
Oh,
but
no. And that's nothing. There's a radio DJ in the valley that, to my understanding, his garage is full. And I'm like, yeah, no.
At $50 a pop nowadays, though, it's hard to get to that level.
Yeah, it's crazy, for sure. Well, I know somebody finally did it. I wish I had the ability to have done it, because I had the idea for a long time, but I don't know how to make those things work. But apparently somebody's got vinyl on demand. And I guess as the band, you set it up with the press, you know, the one disc that they press with, and then after that, anybody orders it, then they press it and ship it.
Well, and if you have that business card or something, I mean, let me know. We don't currently have vinyl. That's not, you know, the deal that we had with our record label. But they told us we could pursue vinyl on our own, and it's just hard because, a lot of those companies are like 500 minimum, like we'll press 500 for you, or, even some will press 100. And the struggle we're running into is the fact that our record is so long. I believe it's like 45 minutes that you start to lose quality. So, and then at that point you do the double LP.
Right.
But if we're putting our album on a double LP, well, that's twice the money.
Right.
So it's like, do you take a song off of this record in order to get it on one single LP? But then, we wrote these songs and we put them together in the order to, it's optimized to listen that way.
Yeah.
It's just like, you don't want to take a song off. But at the same point, I don't want to spend a fortune to order, 500 double LPs.
Right.
So it's tricky. So,
Yeah, for sure.
that order on demand that's interesting. We'll have to talk about that.
I don't know who it is. I'm trying to find out myself.
Okay.
I just know of the band that's doing it. At least that's the way he explained it the other night. So I've got to do some more research myself. But that's super cool because I have a Dave Pratt, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I take my own favorite songs and make the Yeti Radio LP.
That'd
my
be cool.
my
like a compilation.
my own variety album. I'm like, that'd be kind of neat. Or have a contest and top 10 winners get put on the album. I don't know.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But you got to find out how much all that shit costs first, because damn.
Expensive.
So what's the best advice you've been given as a musician?
You want to start?
I guess honestly, just keep pushing through. Like, it's like sometimes you'll have like a show where there's like not that many people, or maybe you screwed up in a show, but like you just gotta keep going. And like also you also have to be in the right mindset, like, again, to the point, like, oh yeah, like the only way to get successful is playing in the State Farm Stadium. Just, you don't need that. Like, just having a good show and seeing people like enjoying themselves. Even, I don't know, I guess the philosophy I have is that, like, and I think Ryan would agree, is like, if one new person basically like, oh, I like your guys' stuff and I want to listen to your guys', like, that's a very successful day. Like, just having one new fan. And that's kind of the main advice that I've like really followed.
So I think I saw it in a Mastodon documentary or something like that. Bron Daler, their drummer, was saying that, you got to play to a room of 3 people the same way you would play to a room of, 10,000 people. You got to give it your all, because one of those 3 people could be somebody that, creates a new opportunity for you. And I saw that happen. We played in Tucson, and it was not my favorite venue, and I won't name drop, but and it was not a very good turnout. But there was a woman there that really enjoyed our set, and afterwards she went on to offer us another show, which happened to be one of our biggest shows, opening up for Adelita's Way down there.
Nice.
But like I said, I mean, it goes to show what Bron was saying, like, play hard for those 3 people in the room, because you never know who they are.
Well, that's the one I've always been told. Always play for that one person, because you never know who it is or if they're there. But always play for them, because that's what happens.
Totally.
And, yeah, there's a few stories that worked.
Mm-hmm.
That did what it was supposed to do. And when you get, an offer for another gig, or an offer to go sing for somebody's, be a fill-in on somebody's band or something, I think that says something about the individual, as far as being able to, whether it's the whole band, like yours was the whole band. We bring the whole band and go open for Adelita's Way. The other one was the one person. We need you to fill in.
Right.
Would you be interested? So that just speaks volumes for whoever it is involved in that conversation. Because it means you impress somebody, and that means something.
For sure.
So let's see. I know you said you're working on new music. Any ideas when anything's coming out?
So do I give up the game plan here? I mean, we are, we just hit the studio with Michael Beck, I don't know, a month ago. We did just a couple singles that we plan on, sprinkling through 2025, just to stay on everybody's mind. Here's something new, mid-year, here's something new in the fall, here's something new in the winter. And then I think the plan, so we just released a full-length record in December.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that wasn't too long ago.
Nope.
So, I mean, we'll sprinkle these couple singles throughout the year just to buy us some time to put together a new record, and hopefully that'll be out in early 2026.
Okay.
But we prepared our back line just to continually offer up content, just to stay on top, Top
Right.
of people's minds.
Absolutely. Any music videos?
Potentially. We've talked about it. We actually just released, which reminds me, so today is actually the 2-year anniversary of our album Taking Over.
Okay.
And we did a live video with Gavin of Soundphoria at one of our shows late last year. We just released it today as, hey, 2-year anniversary, check it out,
Cool.
We haven't released a live video like that before, so that was kind of a cool experience.
Yeah.
But we have plenty of, cinematic storytelling music videos that we've done with Gavin as well, and we're going to continue to do them with him, for this next upcoming album. We'll see when it happens, because, 2026 is still a ways off, but, we're definitely going to... I think we usually do, or at least we want to do going forward, about 3 music videos per album.
Yeah.
Just we do like a little we ask all of our close friends and family before we release the album, like what was your favorite? We take a poll and then kind of go from there, and like, okay, well, this one needs a music video, so
Cool. Totally awesome. Well, I want to thank you guys.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was funny running into you at Sage and Sand. I don't know what happened with me mentally, because I know you. I've seen you enough times and heard your music enough. I'm like, yeah. So, but thank you very much for taking the offer and coming in so quick. That was probably one of the quicker ones so far. So, but
Thank you for having us.
No.
I gotta say, it's really cool what you do with the Yeti Radio and how you support, Arizona music.
Absolutely.
You put us out there, so we appreciate you.
it's a lot of fun. And then I get to meet everybody and then hang out and, and then, then there's the one day, and that's just cool. When you hear stories from your parents or your grandparents, and they were growing up and they were at a intimate event. It was a band and a handful of people, and it was just an amazing show. And next thing you know, that band's on the big stage, and you have that in your head for the rest of your life. Not that you're walking around going, just in your own mind, you were there before that. And that's just a cool possibility,
For sure.
And that's kind of the inspiration behind all of this. And everybody I've met's been really cool, really awesome, and we've been having a blast. But thank you again, and next time you got something coming up that you want to come in and spill your guts about and surprise everybody with, or
Yeah,
want
that'd
to
be
do
awesome.
a premiere?
Like I said, we're staying busy. We're writing. So when we get a little bit closer to that next record, we would love to promote it. you
Yeah.
know? So,
Absolutely. And you're absolutely more than welcome to take the video and do what you want with it. It's for you guys. This is kind of like a video bio, so people can get to know you. So, and I hope it works.
Yeah, totally. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, Weapon of Pride. Here they are with Retribution right here on the YetiRadio.com in the Backstage Lounge.
From the dark it creeps, stealing light of dreams. It all comes true, pulling from the deep. The demons after me. What will they do? As you hold on to me now, pain and hate all that I vow. Forgiven now, yet I can't flee from the dark God that I see. Crawling from the deep, they're consuming me. It's here for you, all inside my head. Believe the lies you've said. I can't see through. As you hold on to me now, pain and hate all that I vow. Forgiven now, yet I can't free from the dark God that I see. I see them as they reap, consuming all of me. It all comes true. They're plotting as I'm weak. The demons after me. What will they do? As you hold on to me now, pain and hate all that I vow. Forgiven now, yet I can't flee from the dark God that I see.
Thank you for tuning into the Yeti Radio in the Backstage Lounge. Tonight we had Weapon of Pride live in the studio, and look forward to having them back again. But until next time, we will catch you again. Have a great evening.
Welcome to the Backstage Lounge on the YetiRadio.com.
Don't fuck it up.
The Yeti Radio, powered by DavidLeeImaging.com. David Lee Imaging in the Titletown Music Archive and the Live 365 app.
We can all be quiet and peaceable and have a few beers together and listen to the music.